California's governor, Gavin Newsom, finds himself at the crux of a national economic and political storm. As the leader of the world's fourth largest economy, he must reconcile his state's formidable economic strength with the unpredictable tariff maneuvers emanating from the Trump administration. With annual output of $4.01 trillion, surpassing the combined economies of 21 US states and representing 14% of the nation's GDP, California stands as an indispensable pillar of American prosperity. Yet its very success intensifies the stakes in the ongoing tariff dispute. The administration's intermittent imposition of duties, particularly on Chinese imports, has disrupted trade flows that are vital to California's economic engine. Nearly 40% of all US goods pass through the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles, and the state ranks first nationally in manufacturing output and third globally in research and development spending. These metrics underscore California's dual identity as both an industrial powerhouse and a research hub. Yet recent data reveal that two-month tourism figures have unexpectedly declined, despite California's status as the premier destination for domestic and international travelers. Acknowledging that the state cannot directly negotiate trade agreements, Governor Newsom nevertheless refuses to adopt a passive stance. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond, he insists, emphasizing that California retains considerable agency in the face of federal policy. To that end, his administration has forged alternative trade relationships, meeting with ambassadors from Germany and the United Kingdom, and engaging the Premier of British Columbia. In Canada, California has launched a targeted advertising campaign designed to attract visitors independently of US federal messaging, reinforcing the state's identity as distinct from Washington, D.C. legal. Action comprises a central pillar of his strategy. California became the first state to initiate a lawsuit against the Trump administration over the economic harm inflicted by the tariffs. According to state budget analysts, the tariffs have already eroded revenue projections, exerting pressure on next year's fiscal plan. Small businesses, family farms, and export-oriented manufacturers have all reported steep declines in orders, heightening concerns about job security and rural livelihoods. Furthermore, California's three primary trading partners, China, Canada, and Mexico, serve as critical markets for its agricultural and manufactured goods, intensifying the urgency of the dispute. Beyond the economic theatre, Newsom has turned his scrutiny inward toward the Democratic Party's strategic approach. He observes that, since 2010, the emphasis on high-profile, charismatic figures has overshadowed the foundational work of grassroots, local campaigning. While national narratives often fixate on presidential contests, the governor argues that school board and state legislature races are the true bedrock of political renewal. Recent Republican gains in state houses formerly dominated by Democrats illustrate the perils of neglecting this groundwork. Newsom calls for a more robust bottom-up party infrastructure that can sustain long-term policy success, rather than relying solely on the white horser to rescue the party in a national election cycle. The aftermath of November 2024, he believes, demands a rigorous post-mortem, a process he finds largely absent. He points to troubling trend lines among young male voters, 56% of whom supported Trump in that election, a 15-point swing from his 2016 performance. This demographic shift, Newsom warns, reflects deeper communication failures and policy disconnects that Democrats must address to regain credibility. Paradoxically, while critiquing his own party's messaging, the governor staunchly defends the Biden administration's legislative record. He lauds the landmark $1.02 trillion infrastructure bill, allocating $550 billion in new investments. He highlights the CHIPS and Science Act's $52.53 billion commitment to domestic semiconductor production, and he underscores the Inflation Reduction Act's direct grants beyond the already publicized $362 billion or $9 billion figures, which fund clean energy, health care, and community development projects across both red and blue states. It was a masterclass of policymaking, he asserts, noting the administration's worker-centered focus on unions, family care, and living wages. In a further bid to bridge ideological divides, Newsom has launched a conversational podcast that invites figures such as Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon into civil discourse. Critics accuse him of providing a platform for extremist views, yet the governor contends that success leaves clues. By engaging those who drew millions of votes, he seeks to understand the strategies that mobilize their audiences. I wanted to understand what motivates them, he explains, arguing that genuine dialogue demands civility without sacrificing conviction. This two-pronged approach, simultaneous legal resistance and open dialogue, underscores California's broader ambition to defend its economy vigorously while maintaining its role as a stable partner on the international stage. With 16 active lawsuits against the administration, the state has Trump-proofed its legislative agenda through a special session explicitly designed to shield Californians from federal policy volatility. As Governor Newsom navigates uncharted waters, the stakes could not be higher. California's economic resilience, its political influence, and its capacity to innovate all hinge on the outcome of this tariff showdown. Yet, amid the legal filings and diplomatic outreach, he insists that understanding remains paramount. Whether through courtrooms or conversation, Newsom's strategy seeks not only to counteract federal policy, but also to anticipate and adapt to the forces reshaping American politics. In doing so, California may well chart a new course for subnational leadership in an era of federal retrenchment. In the coming months, California's approach may set a precedent beyond its borders. Other states, balancing the combination of legal challenges and direct engagement with international partners, might emulate this model. Convening trade delegations, leveraging subnational diplomacy, and pursuing judicial redress illustrate a multifaceted resistance strategy. California's actions could galvanize coalitions of similarly situated states, particularly those with export-driven economies, to present a unified front against federal tariff policy, thereby amplifying their collective bargaining power in Washington. DC, the broader political implications are equally significant. By illuminating conservative audiences through his podcast conversations, Governor Newsom aims to mitigate polarization and foster a more nuanced public dialogue. His willingness to engage figures such as Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon underscores a strategic pivot, not merely to refute opposing arguments, but to dissect them rhetorically and reveal their underlying mechanics. This method of listening to dismantle may inform future Democratic outreach, especially among disaffected demographics like young men, whose recent electoral swing highlighted gaps in messaging and engagement. Ultimately, the success of California's initiatives will hinge on measurable economic indicators and shifts in federal policy. Should California's lawsuit prevail, it may compel the administration to rescind or adjust targeted tariffs, protecting vital sectors from further disruption. Conversely, if the courts uphold the duties, sustain subnational diplomacy and domestic supplementation, such as state-sponsored subsidies or tariff offset funds, could become more pronounced. In either scenario, Newsom's blend of authoritative legal action, proactive international outreach, and innovative media engagement exemplifies a comprehensive strategy for state leadership amid federal contention. Moreover, the budgetary pressures facing Sacramento will demand creative fiscal responses. Anticipated revenue shortfalls may prompt the legislature to explore alternative funding streams, including targeted tax incentives for small businesses hurt by tariffs and increased public investment in domestic manufacturing clusters. These measures could sustain employment and regional economic vitality while the legal process unfolds. California's experience will thus serve as a case study in leveraging subnational authority to influence national economic policy, offering valuable lessons for federalism in an era of global interdependence. Some